Hello, and welcome to another week of Central Reads, our 2024 Bible reading plan. This week we are reading Paul's first letter to the Corinthians. It's a fascinating letter. It starts with this very nice greeting, but it's kind of a shorter greeting. It's only a few verses, whereas think about like Ephesians, for instance. It was like 2 or 3 chapters of like, he just loves these people. And Philippians, he loves them. Corinthians, there are issues in this church. One of the reasons I love this letter is, for one thing, because of how practical it is, but also it gives me great comfort as a pastor of a church who has, problems and issues we face, and there's conflicts, and just like every human group does that. Churches are no different, and it was no different back then, because the issues that Paul faces in this letter to the Corinthians, they're like way worse than stuff we've ever faced, and so it just kind of gives me comfort. And Paul gives some really good guidance about how to face these things, because he's telling you how to think theologically, how to think Christologically. If you listen to the sermon that I preached yesterday, how to think with Christ at the center, basically. And so he basically deals with a bunch of different issues that the church in Corinth was facing. Stuff like division in the church was a huge one, which is a huge thing throughout church history, but throughout Paul's letters, about different status in the church and who's high and who's not, and who do they follow and who don't. Sexual issues, like a guy sleeping with his mother-in-law, like just not really good stuff. About the way different church members are like suing one another and that sort of thing. Stuff about marriage, stuff about do we eat food that's been offered to idols, and what's the right approach, and how do we do that? How do we use the gifts in the church? There's all these different things that Paul's addressing. There's so much context and like historical context that makes it so that this letter is difficult to understand correctly if we don't have more context. And so what I'll tell you is watch the Bible Project's video on 1 Corinthians. I think it's very helpful. I think there's a lot of information in it. But also, if you have a study Bible or something like that, there's probably notes in there that kind of gives you a little bit of more context, because, there's like a section in here about like women with their heads not covered and that sort of thing in chapter 11, and it's like, what the heck is Paul talking about? Well, there's some reason, there's some context for it. So if you have questions about it, I would love for you to ask me and talk about it with me. You can email me, you can stop by, you can call me, ask me on Sunday, whatever it might be. But yeah, enjoy this week of reading. There's a lot of great stuff in here. There's a lot of really important conversations. Really, it's a good exercise in learning how to think about our problems and our issues in the world and how we face things. Learning how to think from Christ out, like from Christ centered, and then go forward. And so, enjoy this week of reading, and let me know if you have any questions.